certain part. He's cool.
Okay, you're now
All
live.
right. Great. It's just about 1 o'clock. I'm calling the August 24th, 2026 meeting of the Albemarle County Architectural Review Board to order. If we could call the roll, please.
Yes. Mr. Henningsen,
Here.
Mr. Stoner,
Here.
Mr. Mitsuno,
Here.
Mr. Vanderwerf.
Here.
Mr. Hancock is not here today.
All right, thank you. Do any ARB members have anything to disclose?
No.
No, me either. Today's meeting is a hybrid meeting. The public may access and participate in the meeting electronically. Instructions for doing so are posted on the Albemarle County website at the Albemarle County calendar. The public has real-time audio-visual access to this meeting over Zoom and real-time audio access over telephone. Both is provided in the lawfully posted meeting notice. This meeting is being recorded and will be made available on the county's website calendar. This meeting is a public record and subject to disclosure under the Freedom of Information Act. All speakers, when it is your turn to speak, please first state your name for the record. Applicants who are making presentations, note that your presentation is limited to a total of 15 minutes, which you can divide among your team members. Staff will let you know when the 15 minutes are up. If applicants in the meeting room have team members attending virtually who will need to present, please make that known when you come to the podium. Everyone who is participating virtually, please mute your microphone until it is your turn to speak. Are there any members of the public that want to make a comment about a project that is not on the agenda for review?
No one online.
All right. Would anyone like to pull the minutes off the consent agenda?
No.
All right. In that case, I move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
All righty. Mr. Vanderwerf,
Aye.
Mr. Mitsuno,
Aye.
Mr. Stoner,
Aye.
Mr. Henningsen.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have one regular review item today, which is ARB 2026-14, Airport Road Self-Storage, final. Margaret?
Okay, this is a proposal to construct a self-storage facility with associated site improvements at the northeast corner of Airport Road and Timberwood Boulevard. You all reviewed the initial plan and the preliminary architecture for this proposal on April 20th of this year. The issues that were identified in that April meeting were mostly related to the architectural design. Most of those issues have been addressed with the revisions in this round of review. In this slide, the images on the left are from April and the images on the right are the revised design. It's some of the highlights of the changes that have been made. In this revised design, the positions of the building blocks have been switched and a tower has been added. Windows have been added and reorganized, and the distribution of siding has been reworked so that the building has a more cohesive appearance. The amount of the blue color that's used in the design has been reduced, and it is now limited to areas that are further from the street and much less visible. The ground floor garage doors that were in the original design, that's the top image, they've been removed in this revised design. And the RV parking area is not proposed at this time. It's still shown on the plan with the travelway that encircles the building, so they could come back as an amendment to the plan in the future. With the garage doors removed, most of the base of the building is now faced with concrete block veneer, and the ground level is mostly blank. There was a request for the perspective drawings to be provided without the landscaping to get a better idea of the intended appearance of the building. The perspectives were updated with the revisions, but the versions without landscaping were not provided. We still recommend that they be provided just so we can have a more complete idea of what the blank wall area will look like before that landscaping grows up to soften the appearance. We noted in the staff report that the concrete block veneer extends up from the base of the building along the sides of the windows in that eastern block. That's an unusual detail, and we've suggested it be reconsidered. We've also recommended a few revisions to various notes throughout the plan to clarify or correct minor errors. After the staff report was completed and posted, we learned that the windows in the building are not intended to provide views into the building. Although the renderings suggest that you can look into the building, the type of glass is described as non-transparent blackout glazing. That type of glass would not meet the guidelines. The guidelines state that visible light transmittance should be 40% or above. A blackout glazing would presumably be 0%. Black glass would make the building look different than what is shown in the renderings. In the staff report, we recommended approval of the proposal with the list of changes to be made. Of course, this information was new after that. So one of the changes was adding a note to the plan about meeting the glass requirements. So that type of glass will need to be a point of your discussion today. And I have highlighted that issue in red on this slide and in the list of conditions that we can bring up later for discussion. Be happy to try to answer any questions that you have.
All right, thanks a lot, Margaret. We'll start with Frank, if you have any questions.
I don't.
All right, Dade,
Yeah, thank you for your report, Margaret. No questions.
Tara?
No, I don't have any questions. Thank you.
Yeah, sorry, Margaret, I don't have any questions either. If the applicant has a presentation, now would be the time.
Good afternoon, everyone. All right, good to see everyone again. My name is Chuck Rapp. I'm at Collins Engineering. We handled the site planning component of this, and we also have the architect back again to help explain some of the decisions and help the dialogue on the architectural design. So Margaret already kind of went into where we were, site photos, nothing changed obviously out there except for some construction that's going on sites behind it nowadays. Again, that originally we had the drive going around the building to access ground floor garages and the potential RV parking. We have, as Margaret explained, removed that. We tried to design it in a way that if the owners ever wanted to come back and do that, it would still work. But at this time, they are not proposing that. Margaret went over some of those original elevations and perspective images. We've got updated ones, and we even have some additional ones as requested by staff as well with that landscaping. So the most recent proposal here basically tightens up landscaping a bit to make something a bit more of a steady rhythm along the entrance corridor there. We have a small berm planted along Airport Road and similar landscaping, a little bit less, but still have a good bit along Timberwood Boulevard. And then we have some screening shrubs, small trees, large evergreen shrubs along the property line just to the south there. I guess it would be to the east. We are no longer showing the entrance drive, so we have a small parking area. There's the at the main entrance. There was some discussion, I know, in some of the comments about trying to flip that. Just too kind of challenging to work the parking and the drive aisle all the way around at the front of the building when the main access point is off of that back road, primarily due to the elevation changes and some of the utilities along Airport Road. So this is where we were now with everything. Updated kind of sections just to show the final condition. We did remove we previously had a fence back there. We no longer have that since we don't have the RV parking or the drive around the building. Just more detailed landscape plan. Again, kind of showing foundation shrubs. One of the comments was to increase the size of the shrubs around the building that are used to block the HVAC units. Really, no problem doing that. We can beef up that size. And then we've updated our lighting. We no longer have lighting going all the way around because we don't have an entrance road. We don't have the garage doors. So really just primarily lighting the parking lot and then main entrance area with pole mounted lights. There's a couple of them in that parking lot. And then I'll hand it over to Chris to talk about the architecture.
Good afternoon, everybody. Pleasure to be here. My name is Chris Elam. I'm with RBA Architects. Happy to be back again. If you don't mind, I'll skip to, so you've seen some of these renderings and happy to talk about the substantial changes we've made to the design, but just for the sake of clarity of the design as requested, the renderings with the landscaping turned off to illustrate sort of what that looks like running all the way down to the ground. So that's the, what is that, southeast corner of the building. furthest away from the connecting road there, and showing the largest massing of the CMU block veneer wall. And from the intersection or across the, sort of at the intersection there, Berkmar and Airport Road. And as requested, and as I think we achieved the pulling the main mass of the building with the towers to the corner, and I think also I was really pleased, a little bit proud of myself, having lowered the height of the towers in addition to flipping that taller tower element massings towards that intersection corner, so that we're really anchoring the street corner, but then reducing the overall height of the architecture. And this is one you can see. So I know the topic of the opaque windows or blackout windows is interested to hear y'all's thoughts on it. So this one shows a little bit better sense of what the windows would look like without the transparency, which sort of snuck in on our AI assisted renderings. But the intention here is that, because we were adding these windows as an architectural element to break up the facade and to, improve the exterior character of the building, but they're not really conducive with the interior circulation patterns and the usage of the, interior space of the building. We're proposing that these are transom glass or opaque glass, any number of ways of describing the fact that they're a full storefront window system. They're set in the wall, they're through wall, but the second pane of that, of those windows will be non-transparent. So they'll appeal. They will still have a color, a tinting to them, in that the first pane, of the double pane storefront will be, will have a tint on it. So we anticipate that we'll be selecting something that'll complement the blue color that's at the rear of the building, similar to what's shown here, but they will be non-transparent is the intention. You can see we've also been careful to coordinate the location of building lighting, building mounted lighting, and those are really just safety, levels of light appropriate for safety around the building and for ornament of the building. So you can see those illustrated in these, as well as the downspouts and the louvers, mechanical louvers, all of these, obviously functional elements around the building. We wanted to make sure that they are coordinated, with the architecture and the configuration of architectural elements. And we've made a number of adjustments. I won't, drill down into the details of it, but that, Margaret, as you mentioned, they were sort of clerical and fixing up some of the mislabeled color representations. But we're basically looking for a combination of metal panels in beige colors, and then and grays that are represented by in ephes and block, and then also the bottom band, which you can see in the in this render elevation, as well as at the lower portion of these. Those are shown also as a metal panel, but ash gray, so it's meant to complement the other gray elements of the composition. And with the roof plan available for conversation if we want, but I would be happy to answer any questions or that you may have at this point.
All right, thanks for the presentation. We will start with Dave if you have any questions.
Sure, yeah, thank you for the presentation and the adjustments since the last meeting. Let's see, I was just noting, I guess on the, in the elevation that's up right now, the cream portion between the two tower elements, I guess its roof pitches towards the EC so that it's able to have a um, an eave that's a continuous elevation. Would it be feasible to do something similar with a portion of the eastern wing so that the shed or the slope was not as prominent in that elevation?
Um, it'd be possible, sure. So we're currently showing, so this is that central tower, and sloping, towards the east, the full extent of that, slope. So that could be spun. We're already at a pretty complicated roof for this
Mhm.
sort of building type, with a lot of pop-ups and downs. And so was just looking for areas where, we could be as efficient as possible, with that direct slope, but it would be possible to slope it in, towards, Airport Road, which hypothetically, now that would, so if that's the 10-foot, that's a sort of minimum, floor height above the third floor. So we could drag that, across and then have it sloping back towards the, rear of the property.
I see. Yeah, and then there'd be a slope visible on I guess it's the east end of the building. Um,
Yeah, and I think that we would likely end up, so rather than sloping all the way back this way,
Yeah.
we would want to slope up and then back down to some capacity. I'd have to study the exact height that would let us achieve, along, of that roof, of that ridge line. But I would imagine that at some point we would, that wouldn't, we would break it and slope the other direction, either back towards the front of the building, or sort of towards airport for some section, and then towards the side of the property for some section.
Well, thank you. Yeah, and alternatively, I don't know if it'd be possible to do something similar to the cream portion where, the EC facing slopes towards the EC and then sort of screens the large gable element behind, so it could still be shedded behind.
You're talking, sorry.
Yeah, I'm just wondering whether there's a way that the EC facing edges of the roof can be kind of more consistent in their.
So in this, we talked about this portion,
Yeah,
and now-
right. Certainly there's sheds, as roof forms in the county. It's just that's a very, very lengthy shade and a shed and somewhat different in elevation than the cream portion. So just wondering whether there might be an opportunity for a little more alignment between the two elements, but thank you. And then I see the challenge with the 3 stories of storage and in terms of the datums that have been chosen, like the white element in the cream area, I guess in terms of how the heights of horizontal elements have been selected in the elevation. Can you just talk about the thinking behind how it's been broken up vertically?
How it's broken up vertically. So I've largely matched the floor plates, and that just facilitates the alignment with the windows, even though they're not functional windows, call it architectural habit, but, kept the windows aligned with, floor plates and with, functional window heights. But so starting with those, and you can see second floor, at 10 foot, and third floor, those were the, drivers for the horizontal bands, and with just, adjustments down from those in certain locations, just to, create some spacing from bottoms of windows, or from between one, section of material and the next. And so we've, at the corner in between the tower elements, I've dropped down, and this is really, was a function of the, slope and, needed step downs between roof elements. So you can see that this slope, continues down to the low eave at the, what do we have there, west side. And then, aligning those eaves, so those eave heights were derived from that roof configuration, right? And so that set the white portions at a lower eave height than, than some of the other areas around the building, particularly if you track around to the front face here, you can see, that I've articulated this entry point, and obviously articulated the towers, but this is this entry piece I differentiated, kept the same, sort of banding, the horizontal banding concept as far as breaking it at the actual floor lines, but have popped it up, one to encompass the elevator, which is just behind it, so that we don't have that it'll be tall enough that the elevator overrun is still underneath one of the main roofs of the building without having to isolate that and pop it up above the main roof. But then also wanted to articulate hypothetically, we could have a leasing office in the future. Our current plan is for a sort of unmanned facility type, and I think we've talked about this already. But so you don't see any storefront doors or office signage, that sort of thing, but this hypothetically could be the location for that in the future. And so we've identified that or tried to articulate that in the banding. And then I think one of the topics of conversation that Margaret had requested was that I think relates to the conversation about the banding and the heights of the materials, is this stepping up and down of the masonry. My thought was that honestly was to break up there's a long horizontal run, and it'd be really simple to align the top of masonry consistently with the top of windows or with the bottom of the windows, but it just felt like this it's nearly 100 feet, I think, of run that would be sort of unbroken other than by the windows. And you can see, the sort of unbroken run in the top piece and it at the bottom when the planting is turned off. But the intention was just for that to create some interruption of that horizontal, continuity, which we naturally got a little bit more of at this end using the, with the downspouts, and then, repeated the sort of, the articulation there, the indentations, in the materials. So that was meant to be a continuity of that strategy, down the rest of the building. And again, just for the sake of breaking up that horizontal length. Hopefully that answered the question.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. All right.
Thanks. Frank?
Do we have samples of any of these materials?
I did
No.
not bring samples. I think I'd, happy to provide those to you all.
Do you have photos of any of them, by chance?
Not with me,
Okay.
Again, I could provide those. The metal panels, I think that in order to get the color and the profile that would be, informative for you all would take a little while to order, get a custom piece ordered. Happy to do, but don't have it with me today.
Gotcha.
But they're all the metal panels. It's 3 different profiles, all from the sort of standard metal panel catalog. And the bottom panel, the 2 that are up higher have corrugation patterns to them, but the one at the base, which I'm calling out, no, that's not true. The one at the middle, which I'm calling out as the FW 120, that is a flat panel with an interlocking panel edge that doesn't display a corrugation pattern. And then of course ephes and smooth faced gray concrete block, pretty typical material, pretty typical finishes.
That's a colored concrete block. What is?
Yes, integral color.
With sort of brick pattern or what is it? It looks,
So I'm assuming that we're a standard 8x16 block, variable color, variable gray color within it, and a standard coursing pattern.
and there appears to be a shadow line between the middle corrugated panel and that bottom metal panel. Is that,
You're
is
talking
that
here.
true? Yeah, right there.
Yeah, what I'm proposing to use there, and you can see something similar at all of the material changes, is a flashing. So there's a metal flashing piece, and even between two sections of metal panel, it's a through wall flashing, and so the vertical leg that's exposed of that flashing is variable. So you can see I've shown a larger vertical dimension at the white panel that's in between the white flashing that's in between the two sections of panel here, and then a less deep flashing piece at the top of the gray here and here, and similar flashing type everywhere that it's portrayed. I've varied the height of those just for architectural effect and to sort of accentuate and or complement those material changes. And the colors are easily variable as well on those flashings. So at the top of the gray areas, I'm using a dark bronze or black, and at the top of the in between some of the lighter colored metal panels using a white or a cream for the flashing.
And I'm assuming the windows are opaque because the space behind them is actually storage space, not common space. Is that-
Yeah, exactly. It's actually storage space. And just for the sake of functionality and security maintenance, would typically install a metal panel over the inside face of those windows so that they can't be banged into by anybody using the space. And so it's like I say, a fully installed through wall window installation, and then a panel that's just applied to the inside face of the frame of that window to keep it from being exposed to the inside of the storage units. And this is the ground floor only, but is, representative. You can see the extent to which some of these units, the entry point would be from a hallway, and then the road side of those units would be just the back of a storage unit. And so if we did provide the, transparent windows, then you'd likely be looking at the backside of boxes or mattresses or what have you.
I think that's all I have. Thanks.
Tara?
So I'm sorry, could you clarify? So there will be exterior lighting, but it doesn't appear on the photometric plan. Is that kind of?
Yeah, so these are really just wall washers. You can see them shown at these locations, and they did get incorporated into the photometric plan. They're, I believe, we confirmed, but
I can't remember.
yeah, we definitely talked about it, but they're minuscule amount of light projection because they're meant to be wall washes, but so for ornamental effect, but also for security lighting. So the idea being that just a little bit of lighting around the building, although not meeting requirements for circulation areas, will still encourage people not to linger in the dark spaces around a building that are not heavily observed by the staff.
Okay, thank you.
Right, thanks. I don't have any questions myself that haven't already been asked. So are there any members of the public
No,
that
sir.
want to make a comment? Okay. In that case, the ARB will now go into discussion. I guess we'll start with Tara, if you have any comments.
Yeah, thanks for making the presentation. I think that the project shows a fair amount of development from the last time that we'd seen it, so I appreciate them working to address some of those comments. I think I kind of agree with Dade's comment about the roof forms, both because that I can't remember which, I guess the east facade still features prominently on the entrance corridor. I feel like uh, finding a way to make that roof align with the top of the adjacent portion, I think would help make it a little bit more consistent. Yeah, rather than showing the sloping edge of that roof. I think I do also agree with staff on the comment around the changing heights of the masonry veneer. I understand the applicant's desire to add something that will, create a vertical rhythm along the facade. I think that makes sense. I think that it might just be a question of what the material is. I think because the veneer has a thickness that projects a fair amount, and it's just not a typical masonry detail. But I could imagine, you know, I think in general that um, that actually despite the large horizontal expanses of the building, I think that one thing that might help is actually finding some consistency in just where those lines get drawn, that maybe if they do just fall at the floor levels, it'd be less complicated to construct, and I think just simpler for us to understand as people who are passing by the building. I Those are some of my initial comments. Curious to hear what other board members have to say.
All right, thanks. Dade?
Yeah, thank you, Chris. Thank you, Taro. Similarly, I appreciate the development by the applicant since our last meeting. I think, as I indicated in my questions, and I do think that the current shed roof form isn't entirely, resolved with the other mass of the building. And if there were a way to have an eave that was parallel, consistent, that preferred. I do think, like staff and Taro, that it would be worth revisiting the masonry detailing around the windows that are shown. And I do think, I appreciate the applicant explaining the thinking behind sort of the horizontal organization of the facade. Like Taro, I wonder if there might be another approach that might be more orderly. I think I definitely appreciate the practical considerations for the storage units. I do think there are many other examples in our county and elsewhere where either through interior planning that allows the windows to be open to corridors, or through shadow boxes or other constructions, there are strategies that might allow some visual depth and transparency in those windows, and I would be interested in the applicant considering those. But all in all, I think it's good progress. I definitely appreciate the applicant, as of the last meeting, removing the garage doors on the EC and not including that in the proposal.
All right, thanks. Frank?
Yeah, I agree with what Dade and Tara have said. There's a lot going on here, and I'm not sure all of it really contributes to the effect of the aesthetic effect of the building that I think you're trying to get. I agree with Tara. I think simplifying the horizontals might actually be helpful. It'd be nice to have samples of these materials, because it looks like there are 5 or 6 different materials being used. Maybe you don't need that many materials. I tend to think the windows that have the masonry on either side, not sure the masonry, I don't know whether pushing the masonry all the way up to the next horizontal and centering the windows, or maybe eliminating the masonry and moving the windows into a more logical location relative to the floor plate might help. I do think overall it's an improvement over the initial submission. I really wrestle with the window issue. I understand why you can't really backlight them. Although, as Dade says, you may be able to put shadow boxes. I think having light in that location or those locations would make a big difference during evening and nighttime hours, and actually be a kind of a selling point for the structure. I think there's a storage facility up in Warrenton where they did that, and the windows essentially are in corridor locations, and you get to look in and see kind of the interior storage units from 29, which are actually quite nice. Aside from that, I'm not sure I have much to offer.
All right, thanks a lot. I'm in complete agreement with what's been said. I appreciate the progress that's been made since the last submission. But I think my colleagues have made some great suggestions about some additional things that could be improved. So I don't have any specific comments beyond what's already been said. So if we could take a look at the recommended motion.
The motion was for approval with the conditions listed in the report. Again, I've highlighted in red the original recommendation regarding the window glass, and I've added 2 items at the end. I think they probably both need a little bit of rewording. The first one about the roofs, and the second about the horizontal lines. I'll point out number 5 does say to submit physical material samples for review.
I guess as an open question to colleagues, given the comments today, would it be helpful to propose a work session, and that could potentially move to a certificate of appropriateness, or do folks feel like the comments are clear enough? As I think Margaret pointed out, some of the comments are a little bit open-ended, and we shouldn't really be prescriptive in our comments. So
Yeah.
it might be up. I wonder if it might be helpful to allow the applicant some time to consider them and come back, and we could schedule potentially a work session and then move that to a certificate of appropriateness if it's ready at that time.
How do we feel about the glass? Because I guess that's a theoretical issue.
It
They need
seemed,
guidance on.
yeah. Personally, I would advocate for maintaining the requirement for transparent glass, and encourage the applicant to consider shadow boxes or some other element. Those come at the expense of some leasable area in the storage unit, but they are a viable strategy for meeting the guidelines.
Yeah, I'm kind of in agreement with that.
Yeah, I don't have any particular, I think either the corridor strategy you mentioned, the shadow box, any of those would be acceptable to me.
And as far as the work session, I think if there are revisions that I think are, made that we, I think are improvements and appropriate, then I think, we could move to approve at that time too. Seems like some of these things are, a little bit more than what you would normally like expect, to just go through as, as comments.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think a work session would be helpful. As much as I understand a lot of a lot of projects are, trying to keep their timeline, I think it would help us to give better feedback to the applicant to help get them to a point where we could provide that certificate.
How quickly could that happen?
It could be quick. I think it depends on how quickly the revised drawings can come back in.
I think that, I mean, I can revise the drawings very quickly, within, this week, hypothetically. I would say that it's pretty clear to me if I may speak freely, pretty clear how to address the number 10 and 11. I think that's, there's some, if not explicit direction, there's some clear directions I could take that, I think, to clean up a line and adjust those. The window issue, I guess I would appreciate some clarification about is that 100% of windows would be expected to meet that requirement? Presumably there are transom glass exists in buildings, and there are portions that are allowed. In some of the storage buildings I've done, we select certain windows to sacrifice the interior leasable square footage as needed to create visible windows through. But we've sort of increased the number of windows on this project in this last round a little bit more than we typically would, and with the assumption that that was not going to require that adjustment to the interior at every location. So I guess the question is, is there a percentage of windows that being made to be transparent would be acceptable, or alternatively, if all windows have to be transparent, then do we feel like the quantity of windows shown currently is enough that could be reduced somewhat to try to maintain our the efficiency of this design?
Margaret could probably clarify this, but my understanding is the guideline as written does not have a percentage. It just says flatly that all glass must. I think I personally would be. I think if most of the glass was meeting the guidelines, I'd certainly be look favorably on giving you some wiggle room, but that's just speaking for myself, not as kind of the board statement.
And I might add to Chris's remarks, I think, the guidelines, the design guidelines call for avoiding blankness. And so, these window openings are one way to do that. There are other precedents of buildings with, openings that may not be transparent or glazed, but that relieve blankness. And part of that also, those probably come with greater requirements for depth or detail. But so I don't know that the board is typically prescriptive about a percentage of glazing for transparency. I think we're looking for a building that's well ordered and isn't blank. And I think there are some examples, in other counties where there are some, in the hierarchy of openings, there are some that are glazed and fully transparent to space behind them and others that are not. So it's really about the overall order of the building.
Thank you. Yeah, to answer their question about the timing, I could have it back this week.
I think then it would be at least 2 weeks before we could get back. We'd need that information to be able to post it to the website the Wednesday before the Monday meeting. So it's probably about 2 or 3 weeks. We can talk more after the meeting, looking at calendars.
Want me to move on this?
Um, uh, Rather than going with the motion that's there, I think you could make a motion to forward these comments to the applicant and with the highlighted items to be reviewed in an upcoming work session. Does that work for you?
So moved.
Thank you, Tara.
All right, I second that. If we could put that to a vote.
Mr. Henningsen,
Aye.
Mr. Stoner,
Aye.
Mr. Mitsuno,
Aye.
Mr. Vanderwerf.
Aye.
All right, thanks a lot. We do not have any work sessions today. So do any board members or staff have any other items they'd like to discuss? Sounds like it's a no. In that case, the next ARB meeting is scheduled for Monday, August 31st, 2026. At this point, do board members know if they'd be able to attend that? I'm planning on being there.
I'm planning on attending.
Never mind.
Yes, same here.
All right, great.
Do we know how many items we have, Margaret, for that?
1 or 2.
One or two? Thank you.
All right, in that case, this meeting is adjourned until our next meeting on Monday, August 31st, 2026. And by my watch, it is 1:47. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.